That is right, your favorite content creator is back. We're revamping this channel. We're going to change it to something new where I'm going to be showing more of my face. We're going to be talking about Bob Dylan, about anything. But today we're going to be talking about a complete unknown. This came out a couple weeks ago. I've seen it twice. So it's a bit outdated information. If you're watching in the United Kingdom, you'll know that it came out I think January 17th. But anyways, as you know, it's the movie about Bob Dylan, the biopic starring Timothy Chalamet. It's directed by James Mangold, who directed Ford v Ferrari and Logan, both which movies that I like so much. He also directed, what was it? Indiana Jones 5, which I didn't really like, but he directed this movie, and Timothy Chalamet had to learn to sing and play the guitar for 5 years, which was quite astonishing. And being a Bob Dylan fan, this might be a bit conflicted. I might be a bit biased, but I thoroughly enjoyed the film. It covers his early years from 1961 to 1965. It played into all the tropes that a biopic does, but it also focused on the music itself, which I think is a very important thing for a biopic to do, because the music, it speaks better than what Dylan or Timothy Chalamet could say. The music itself is what speaks for Dylan and his genius, and it kind of just starts out with that. It's just him coming to New York City in 1961, is coming from Minnesota, not knowing anyone, and then being thrust into the spotlight. And it's kind of a movie about what fame does to you, what fame does to a person. Because he's kind of like an introvert. He's kind of just like, I don't really like the fame. There are many eras of Bob Dylan, and this is the era that they decided to choose on, instead of talking about his entire career. Now, if they talked about his entire career, it might be a bit complicated. Now, you look at other biopics such as Taron Egerton's Rocket Man for Elton John, or the Bohemian Rhapsody one with Freddie Mercury with Rami Malek. Those are okay films, but I think what they try to do is they try to play into the trope of playing out through the entire musician's life. They go through the beginning of their fame, and it goes through the whole downward spiral of drugs and scandal and all this crazy stuff that happens throughout the course of being famous. And the Bob Dylan movie doesn't do that. I think if it tried to do that with this format, it just wouldn't work, because it's just stuck between these 4 years. Now, I was going to talk about it going into 1966, but I think it was just better that it was stuck between these 4 years, because just covering that amount of time had to be condensed, of course, into 2.5 hours. But if they tried to span for more of his career, I think it would have turned out a little bit more difficult to do. And I think because of that, the movie excelled. And they also excelled in the myth of Bob Dylan. And what I mean by that is the nonchalantness, that's what my friend described it as, of him responding to interviewers, to press, to other people in his life, just asking him questions. He doesn't want to be defined. He doesn't want to be put in a box. And I think that is very Dylan-esque. But it just goes to show that they really cared about the musician that they're making a movie about. Anyways, if the movie delved into 1966, we would have to deal with the motorcycle accident with Sarah, his wife, and it just becomes complicated because there are already 2 women in the film, and introducing a third might be a bit difficult. I think there also is some historical inaccuracies, such as Susie Rotola or Sylvie Russo in the movie, played by Elle Fanning. Her relationship with Dylan does not bleed into Joan Baez's as much as it did in real life, I don't think. I think it was weighed for emotional effect to have the 2 women storylines bleed into each other a little bit, which I think helped the story. And it's not like Dylan is not known for changing up his historical lineage or anything to do with whatever happened to him. It's all just like a mess in terms of like what actually happened. It's a myth, it's a legend. So I think that they played into that sense really well. And and also if they went to 1966, they would have to go overseas tours. There were overseas tours before that, but they didn't really show them in the movie because I think it would just be a bit too difficult to like, oh, he's in London now. And they kind of kept the scale a little bit low. But what this movie really focuses on is Newport and the change to electric. Now that is the legendary moment that everyone knows about, the Newport Folk Festival in 1965. In reality, Dylan got booed off stages for years, throughout his entire career probably. I mean, I don't know if he got booed off the stage for his entire career, but like, especially in the early years, it was rough when he changed to electric. Newport was just the defining moment that everyone seems to focus and rally around, which makes sense because it's just what happens when you don't want to be defined in a box, and you just, as an artist, it's about making art and transcending that and doing what you want to do, as opposed to what the audience wants you to do. And your fan base, your audience, whoever you're reaching to, speaking to, Dylan had become part of this movement, and I think he just didn't want to be part of that movement, and I think it was completely understandable for him to change it and for him to just go electric, because that's the kind of music that he wanted to make, and he should be able to make that. But the people weren't having it, and it really shows. It's a universal message about independence and just doing what you want to do in the best regards, because Dylan, he always has been about that. A lot of biopics just focus on the career and the stories and everything to do with that, but this really focuses on the music, and it makes you want to listen to the music, which is a good thing in a biopic. There's also Pete Seeger, who is played by Edward Norton, who definitely does not know the number one rule of Fight Club, but all of this is just Pete Seeger. He's a very traditional person in the movie. I didn't know much about him, and he just plays the role very well as like the old friend trying to portray the traditional sense of folk music and trying to reel Dylan into just playing what the movement wants him to play. And he doesn't do that. He just wants to play what he wants to do, which is very inspiring. I was honestly surprised with the large catalog of Dylan's music that they were able to cover within the like amount of the film that it has. They covered a lot of his early material, and they did it with respect. That was the most important thing. They knew what they were doing, and they touched the material with respect and passion behind this, passion behind Timothée Chalamet's vocal and guitar lessons, passion behind the script and the people who were making the movie who really cared. And it really shows in the movie, because it's not perfect, but it's a really fun watch. If you don't know Bob Dylan, it makes you just, I don't know. I mean, I know Bob Dylan obviously, but my friend walked into the theater and this guy likes Bob Dylan because he's gonna watch this movie with him, and then he ended up really liking the songs. So yeah, there's that. Another thing is the set work. They designed New Jersey and New York to look like the 60s, and the practical design of the set in the shops and storefronts and everything was absolutely amazing. It's so cool. Like, I just love like the retro stuff of just like designing streets to look like they're in the 60s. That is beautiful, superb, even. Overall, a complete unknown. Have you seen it yet? Then you should go watch it, because I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Go watch it. Timothée Chalamet is amazing, and if you go on Instagram, you'll see he's singing Visions of Johanna, listening to Man Gave All the Animals, names all the animals in his car. He's singing to Blind Willie McTell, and he's a fan too. So if he's a fan, then you should be too. Okay, I'm just yapping at this point. I'm sorry. You can go. Bye.
My boy got ice, man. Taking a big risk. You know, my boy chick might take risks. Around niggas got split. Just wanna be like my man Tucker. This nigga thinking name Rebecca. This man try to spin the block. Just man know that he a